The most controversial event just happened in the world of the cinematic art snob. Every 10 years, Sight and Sound release a list of the top 100 best films ever made, voted by critics, and another poll voted for by directors. It is known as the most highly regarded movie list out there, so it is quite surprising that according to the 2022 critic list in the Sight and Sounds that Jeanne Dielman, 23, Quai du Commerce, 1080 Bruxelles is the greatest film of all time. Citizen Kane, Who, Tokyo Story, Move Aside, Vertigo, You Have Gotta Go. It's surprising, yes, but why is this controversial? And why is the whole list surrounded with controversy? Well, my name is a Maggie Dude, and, well, let me explain. First of all, I would like to give my thoughts on the film Jeanne Dielman. Jeanne Dielman is a 3.5-hour film where not a lot happens. We follow Jeanne, or Jeanne, as she peels her potatoes, has a bath, and occasionally goes to the cafe to have a drink. It's a film that should be dull and tedious, but it is strangely entrancing. Late one evening in 2020, I was watching this for the first time on television, and my dad enters the room. Instead of being confused, he just sits down and gets hypnotized by this film and the world of Jeanne Dielman. He watches the whole thing, and afterwards, he said it was one of the best films he had ever seen. It's so difficult to explain how such an ordinary film works so well and how such medial tasks create such captivating viewing. Chantal Akerman has created something regular, yet also unique, but also special and strangely incredible. The fact it is number one is hilarious because the timeless, old, epic favorites that normally top the list aren't as good as Jeanne Dielman peeling those potatoes. Jeanne Dielman is my number one. She is well fit. Bruv. The controversy doesn't stem from the content of the film. The deal man with Jeanne Dielman is that the film is directed by a woman. Women direct approximately 15% of the movies, so the placement of Jeanne at number one may seem overly biased and woke. What actually may have happened is the film was finally released on Blu-ray in 2017, and a lot of people are still talking about it. Sight and Sound extended the voter base to become more diverse in race and gender, so it's possible that the female viewers of this film in 2022 are more inspired than the non-diverse men from 2012. The fact that this is number one is not a bad thing. It's actually really great. More people are now talking about this oddity, and there will now be a larger audience watching it. And that is where I would like to end this video, but unfortunately we have more to talk about. There's the rest of the list. The Godfather Part 2 is one of the greatest films ever. I feel like that is not only an opinion but a fact at this point. The film continues the grandiose story of the Godfather while expanding the backstory of Vito Corleone. On the 2012 list it was number 31, and on the 2022 list it is gone. My favorite movie of all time is Fanny and Alexander, Ingmar Bergman's Swedish epic that he directed late in his career. Using magical realism, it follows the family through the good times and the very bad times. In 2012, it was number 84. There was a re-release this year, and it too has gone from the list. When it comes to silent movies, I think Greed is my number one. An intense character study that shows how money can bring out the worst in people. The finale in Death Valley is the most epic thing to come from the silent era. In 2012, it was number 84, and in the 2022 list, it has disappeared. Werner Herzog is one of the great filmmakers from the 1970s that is still alive and making movies. Aguirre, The Wrath of God is a tale of madness as conquistadors try to find El Dorado in the Amazon. In 2012 it was 90, but now it too has gone. Other absences from the 2022 list include Touch of Evil, Wild Strawberries, Lawrence of Arabia, and Chinatown. These are known as timeless classics. Meanwhile, the films that have entered the list include Wanda, The Gleaners and I, Daughters of the Dust, and A Portrait of a Lady on Fire. Ultimately, this is where I disagree with this list. These films have female directors, yes, but they're not good enough for this list. They're interesting and worth watching, but we're talking about the best films of all time here. If you put a film with a female director in the list, you need to put in Harlan County, USA, a documentary about the mining strike from 1976. That's a very important masterpiece of documentary filmmaking, not Agnes Varda squashing those lorries with her hands. I can do that too. There's a lot of things to point out really, but another big one for me is A Brighter Summer's Day. This incredibly important film from Taiwan was fully restored and reissued on Blu-ray in 2016. Before this, only a worse than VHS quality version was available to watch on YouTube. This film went from 84 to 78. It's an unremarkable increase of only 6 places, when this film should easily be in the top 20. Its importance for cinema cannot be understated. Also, where is John Cassavetes? A Woman Under the Influence has the best performance by a woman in the history of cinema, that is Gina Rowlands. Does Sight and Sound even like women?
I'm worried is that you've been acting a little strange.
There's no Out One and there's no City of Sadness. I know I'm nitpicking, it's what I do, I'm a YouTuber. It's also weird they don't add many newly released movies on these lists. I'm talking about films from the last 10 years. Instead they reappraise the classics, and that's kind of weird and not as interesting. Films from the last 10 years aren't all bad, you know. You could easily add Drive My Car, The Square, and Choplifters. But nah, let's add The Dusty Daughters. So, to conclude, opinions and tastes do change over time. They get worse. The 2002 list is better. The new list is cringe, and if they don't add Tinkerbell and the Pirate Princess in the 2032 list, I will be very, very, very disappointed. Okay, the rant is over. See you in the next video. Goodbye.
美しい朝は白い天使が窓辺を叩く